Chapter 1. A World in Transition, and the Birth of a New Kind of Love. There is a quiet revolution happening on this planet, one that no headline can capture, and yet it's felt in every human heart. A shift so subtle, yet so profound, that it's rewriting what we believe about love itself. Have you felt it? That strange tension between the world you once knew and the one your soul is remembering? For centuries, humanity has lived under the frequency of fear, a 3D third-dimensional consciousness built on survival, attachment, and lack. We've been taught that love is something we must find, earn, or deserve. That love is fragile, fleeting, something that can be taken away if we're not good enough. But now, something greater is awakening. The energy of the new earth, that 5D fifth-dimensional vibration, is rising through the cracks of the old world. And at the center of this awakening stands a new form of love. A love that doesn't come from need, but from remembrance. A love that doesn't ask, "Will you complete me?" but whispers, "You already are whole." A love that doesn't belong to possession but to freedom. This is the new earth love, the love of the awakened heart. Picture this. Two souls meet, not by coincidence but by divine alignment. Their eyes lock and something ancient stirs. They don't just recognize each other, they remember. In that instant, time collapses. Every lifetime they've walked, as lovers, enemies, teachers, healers, flashes behind their eyes. And yet, they know this meeting is not about reliving the past but about transcending it. That's the essence of twin flames. They're not simply romantic partners, they're mirrors. Their connection is not just chemistry, it's alchemy, the sacred fire that burns away everything that is not love. But before we dive into what twin flames truly are, let's pause and ask something radical. What if love itself is evolving? What if the way we've loved for thousands of years was only the training ground for what's coming next? In the old earth, the 3D paradigm, love was a transaction. You give me safety, I give you loyalty. You give me validation, I give you devotion. It was an exchange built on fear of loss, fear of rejection, fear of abandonment. We called it romance, but often it was survival dressed in poetry. We were searching not for love but for a mirror that would confirm our worth. We needed to be seen because we had forgotten who we truly were. So we fell in love with reflections, and when those reflections changed, our love broke. That's why the 3D version of love so often ends in heartbreak. Because it was never meant to last, it was meant to wake you up. Heartbreak is not punishment. It is initiation. The crack through which your true self can finally breathe. And through those cracks, the new earth begins to emerge. You start to sense that love was never about getting something, it was about becoming something. You realize that every failed relationship, every goodbye, every painful ending was part of a greater orchestration designed to return you to yourself. This is when your soul begins to shift from 3D to 5D consciousness. In 5D, love is no longer dualistic. There's no me versus you, no giver and taker. It is a shared field, a frequency of unity consciousness. Imagine love as light. In 3D, that light is refracted through the prism of ego. It splits into many colors: jealousy, desire, attachment, control. In 5D, the prism disappears. What remains is pure radiance, love in its original frequency, unbroken, infinite. The truth is, we are not here just to find our twin flame. We are here to become love itself. When your soul remembers this, everything begins to change. The people who once triggered you start to mirror your inner wounds. The separation you once feared becomes a sacred pause, an invitation to heal. You stop chasing and start vibrating. You stop begging for love and start emanating it. Because now you understand. Love doesn't come to those who grasp for it. It flows to those who have become it. This is where the twin flame journey truly begins. Not in romance but in awakening. Think of humanity as a great orchestra. For eons we've been playing out of tune, each of us chasing our own melody of need, fear, and desire. But as consciousness rises, certain souls, often twin flames, begin to remember the original song. They become the tuning forks of earth. Their love recalibrates the frequency of everyone they touch, not through words or effort but through vibration. When two twin flames reunite, not from need but from wholeness, they don't just heal each other. They activate a new harmonic for the entire planet. That's why the love of the new Earth is not personal, it's planetary. It's not here to entertain your ego, it's here to liberate your soul. And perhaps that's why your connection feels so different. So intense. So unexplainable. You're not crazy. You're not too sensitive. You're simply tuned into the future of love. Every time your heart breaks open, you're releasing the patterns of the old Earth. Every time you forgive instead of blame, you're anchoring 5D love into human form. Every time you choose presence over control, compassion over fear, you're embodying the very vibration that will carry humanity forward. Your love story is not small. It's sacred. Let's imagine for a moment, what would happen if humanity collectively shifted into unconditional love? If every relationship became a mirror for awakening, rather than a battlefield of needs? The wars would cease not because of treaties, but because the inner conflict would end. The earth itself would heal, because the vibration of love restructures energy, matter, and consciousness. This isn't fantasy, it's physics. The energy you hold in your heart literally reshapes the quantum field around you. When you emit unconditional love, you become a living portal of light, a microcosm of the new earth itself. And so, this is where we stand at the edge of two realities, one ruled by fear, one ruled by love, one defined by separation, one by unity. You can feel both tugging at you. The old stories of pain still echo, but a quieter voice, deeper, wiser, is whispering. It's time to love differently now. To love without possession. To love without conditions. To love as the universe loves. Endlessly, freely, expansively. Because love in its purest form has never been about two people. It's about consciousness meeting itself through the eyes of another. So when you meet someone who awakens every cell of your being, who terrifies and expands you at once, who feels like both home and chaos, pause before labeling it too much. Maybe it's not too much. Maybe it's exactly enough to awaken your soul. Maybe they're not your distraction, but your divine mirror, calling you to remember who you are. And maybe, just maybe, your love story isn't meant to fit inside human definitions. Maybe it's meant to rewrite them. Because this moment in history is not just about the fall of systems or the shift of ages. It's about the rebirth of love itself. The new earth is not a place you go. It's a frequency you become. And love, true, unfiltered, divine love, is the passport. So ask yourself quietly, are you ready to love from your soul? Not your scars. Are you ready to let love be your awakening? Not your escape? Because when you are, you will realize you never needed to find the new earth. You are the new earth. And your love is its first language. Chapter 2. The Collapse of Conditional Love, How Fear Shaped the Old Earth Relationships. Before a new world can rise, the old one must fall. And nowhere is that fall more visible than in the way we've been taught to love. For generations, humanity has called possession devotion. We've confused control with care, and dependency with destiny. We've wrapped fear in poetry and called it romance. The truth is, what we used to call love on the old earth was often a carefully disguised negotiation between wounds. I will love you, we said, as long as you make me feel safe. As long as you don't change. As long as you never leave. But the moment that safety was threatened, the moment they pulled away, grew, or failed to meet our unspoken expectations, our love turned into pain, anger, withdrawal, silence. Was it truly love, then? Or was it the ego demanding proof of its own worth? Conditional love was the product of a 3D, third-dimensional consciousness, a realm built on separation. In 3D, we believed we were small, incomplete beings looking for our other half. And so we searched the world, desperately, like wanderers holding broken mirrors, trying to find the missing reflection that would make us whole again. We said, "You complete me." And we meant it. But here's the cosmic irony. Two incomplete beings cannot complete each other. They can only collide. And in that collision, they mirror back all the places that still ache for healing. That's why 3D love, no matter how passionate or beautiful at first, often collapses under its own weight. Because it's love built on need, not on truth. Think of the old paradigm of love like a contract between two unconscious souls. I'll make you feel valuable if you make me feel secure. I'll give you attention if you give me approval. I'll stay with you if you stay the same. But the soul is not interested in contracts. The soul craves growth. And growth always breaks the rules of comfort. So when one person in the relationship begins to awaken, when they start asking deeper questions, craving authenticity, peeling away the masks, the foundation begins to tremble. The partner who still clings to the illusion of control feels abandoned, threatened. They call it betrayal. But in truth, it's liberation. Because the old earth template of love is collapsing. It has to. This collapse is not cruelty from the universe. It's grace in disguise. For how else could we learn to love freely? If not through the heartbreak of what love was never meant to be? Look around and you'll see the symptoms everywhere. Marriages that last on paper but die in silence. Couples who stay together out of fear of loneliness, not out of resonance. People scrolling endlessly, mistaking attention for affection. We are witnessing the exhaustion of conditional love, the moment when humanity collectively whispers, there must be more than this. And there is. But first we must unlearn everything we thought we knew. In 3D we were addicted to roles. The rescuer, the victim, the provider, the dependent. We entered relationships not as two souls meeting in truth, but as two actors stepping onto a stage, each waiting for the other to play their part. We didn't love people. We loved their potential to fill our voids. You wanted someone to see you because you never learned to see yourself. You wanted someone to choose you because you never learned to choose yourself. You wanted someone to stay because you didn't know how to stay with your own pain. So you called it love, but it was actually avoidance. The collapse of conditional love begins the moment you realize that the person in front of you cannot save you. They cannot be your oxygen, your anchor, or your reason to exist. They can only be your mirror. And that realization hurts. It shakes every belief the ego built about love being a transaction of comfort. When your partner no longer behaves as you expect, when they withdraw, change, or simply reflect your insecurities, your inner child screams, I'm not safe. That's when the shadow surfaces. Jealousy, control, guilt, manipulation, silent punishment. But in that breakdown lies the hidden gift. Because the moment love becomes conditional, consciousness invites you to notice it. You begin to see the difference between love and attachment, between connection and dependency, between soul and survival. Let's take an example. Imagine two people, Maya and Daniel. At first, their love feels divine. Constant messages, plans, physical closeness, endless, I love you. But underneath, Maya's love is rooted in fear of abandonment. She doesn't realize it yet, but every I love you she sends carries a silent subtext. Please don't leave me. Daniel, on the other hand, fears losing freedom. To him, love means suffocation, loss of self. So he subconsciously pulls away whenever things get too intimate. What happens next? The dance of pain begins. The more Maya clings, the more Daniel withdraws. The more he withdraws, the more desperate she feels. Until one day the relationship breaks. Both feel devastated, but that collapse wasn't punishment. It was initiation. It forced them to face their deepest fears. Hers of abandonment, his of intimacy. It cracked open the illusion that love could ever be built on conditions. Every ending in the old earth paradigm is an echo of this same truth. When you seek love to escape yourself, the universe will use that love to return you to yourself. That's why the old way of loving is falling apart. On a global scale. Not because humanity has lost the ability to love, but because we are remembering how to love truly. The breakdown is not the end. It's the birth canal. In the new earth frequency, love can no longer survive if it's rooted in fear. That vibration simply doesn't align with the higher field of consciousness that Earth is now entering. So every relationship that still carries those old codes, control, jealousy, victimhood, dependency, will either transform or dissolve. And yes, that can feel brutal. Can feel like your heart is being ripped open. But that's because your heart is expanding beyond what your mind can understand. Here's the paradox of awakening. You lose everything that was false so that only truth remains. When you release conditional love, you step into the terrifying, luminous freedom of loving without guarantees. You love because it's your nature, not because it's safe. You love even if they don't return it. Because love once awakened doesn't demand, it simply is. This is the death of the 3D paradigm. And like all deaths, it comes with grief. You'll grieve the illusion of forever. You'll grieve the comfort of codependency. You'll grieve the fantasy of being rescued. But in that grieving, you are being reborn. The new earth calls you to stand naked in truth, to love from a place that asks nothing in return. Not because you are naive, but because you finally remember who you are. An infinite being who is love itself. When you reach that awareness, you no longer beg for affection. You no longer chase validation. You no longer stay in relationships that shrink your spirit. You become the source. And from that space, love stops being a negotiation, it becomes a radiation. Let's return to the metaphor of collapse. When an old building crumbles, it doesn't mean the land is cursed. It means the foundation can no longer hold the future. So the universe is demolishing every love built on fear. Not to destroy you, but to clear the ground for something indestructible. That something is unconditional love, the essence of the new earth. The kind of love that doesn't say, I need you. It says, I see you. I honor you. I set you free. It's the love that can look into the eyes of separation and still whisper, even here I choose to love. The collapse of conditional love, then, is not the end of romance. It's the beginning of remembrance. It's the point where human relationships stop being emotional contracts and become sacred catalysts, where the pain of losing someone becomes the gateway to finding yourself, where the purpose of love shifts from comfort to consciousness. That is the essence of this planetary transformation. It's not just about spiritual awakening. It's about emotional evolution. The new earth cannot be built by hearts that still trade affection for validation. It can only emerge through hearts that have remembered how to love without reason. So if your world is crumbling, if relationships are ending, patterns are breaking, truths are surfacing, don't rush to rebuild the old structure. Let it fall. Sit in the ruins. Feel the ache. And listen. Because beneath that silence, something ancient and eternal is whispering. This is not the end of love. This is the end of illusion. Love itself has never fallen. Only your idea of it has. And as the dust settles, you'll realize that what you thought was a heartbreak was actually the sound of your soul remembering its own infinite capacity to love. Chapter 3. The Awakening Through Pain. When the soul begins to remember itself. Pain. The word alone makes the human heart tremble. We spend lifetimes trying to avoid it, building walls, routines, and distractions just to stay safe from it. Yet, for every soul walking the twin flame path, pain isn't the enemy. It's the portal. It's the burning gate through which the ego dies and the soul begins to remember who it truly is. You see, the twin flame journey is not a love story written by human hands. It's a script written by your higher self, one that begins not with once upon a time, but with awakening. An awakening rarely feels like bliss, feels like breaking. At first you think the pain comes from losing them, the one you thought was the other half of your soul. You feel abandoned, betrayed, forgotten. You replay every word, every silence, trying to understand what went wrong. But one night, when the tears finally stop, and the noise of your mind quiets down, something deeper begins to whisper. They didn't abandon you. They activated you. And suddenly the pain shifts. You start to realize that what hurts the most isn't their absence. It's the space they've opened inside you. A space that demands truth. A space that can no longer be filled with illusions. This is the beginning of the great unraveling. Pain, in the context of awakening, is divine fire. It burns away everything that is false, the masks, the expectations, the old programming of who you thought you had to be to receive love. Purifies. It refines. It dismantles the structures built on fear and forces you to rebuild from soul. It's not punishment. It's preparation. Because how can you hold divine love if your hands are still clutching to control? How can you embody unity if your heart is still chained to conditions? Pain doesn't destroy you. It disarms you. It removes the armor that kept you safe but also kept you small. The twin flame separation phase, that dreaded period where everything feels like loss, is in truth one of the most sacred stages of the journey. It's when the illusion of dependency is stripped away so that self-union can begin. It's the moment when the soul says, now love yourself as fiercely as you loved them. And that's when the real work begins. 'Cause now, you can't project your worth outward anymore. You can't use the relationship to avoid your inner wounds. You must meet them face to face. Every abandonment triggers the abandoned child within. Every rejection reopens the scar of not being enough. Every silence forces you to sit in your own company, until you finally remember that you were never alone. One of the greatest misconceptions about the twin flame path is that it's about reunion. In truth, it's about remembrance. Union is only the byproduct of remembrance. When you remember who you are, separation ceases to exist because you realize that you were never truly apart. You were simply playing different roles to awaken each other. The pain then is not evidence of failure. It's evidence of transformation. Like a caterpillar dissolving in its cocoon, your old self must die before you can fly. Inside that dark cocoon, everything familiar melts away, your identity, your certainty, your control. Feels like annihilation. But in the language of the soul, that's rebirth. In the 3D paradigm, pain is something to escape. We numb it with work, distractions, or new relationships. But in the 5D consciousness of New Earth love, pain is embraced as a sacred teacher. When you allow pain to speak, it reveals where love has not yet reached. It points to the corners of your being, still living in fear. It invites you to bring light there. So instead of running, you begin to listen. You sit with your grief. You breathe into your emptiness. And in that stillness, you discover something astonishing. The pain begins to soften. It loses its sharpness. Because what it wanted all along was your attention, your presence. That's how healing happens. Not by erasing pain, but by witnessing it until it transforms into wisdom. Here's a secret many don't realize. Pain is love in disguise. It's love knocking on the door of your resistance, saying, let me in. Let me love this part of you too. Every time your heart breaks, it's expanding its capacity to hold more love. Every time you forgive, you're building new neural pathways that align with compassion instead of fear. Every time you stop blaming and start blessing the lesson, your frequency rises. Pain teaches you empathy, the kind that cannot be faked because it's been lived. It teaches you surrender, the kind that trusts the unseen even when the visible world collapses. And it teaches you devotion, the kind that no longer depends on outcome, but flows from essence. There's a profound difference between attachment and connection. Attachment says, don't leave me, I need you. Connection says, I love you, even in your freedom. Pain is what teaches you that difference. It shows you where your love was still bound by fear. And it breaks those chains one by one, until all that remains is pure being. You no longer love to feel safe, you love because love is your natural state. That is the mark of awakening. You may ask, why does it have to hurt so much? Because humanity forgot how to feel. For centuries we've repressed emotion, silenced intuition, and worshipped logic. But love doesn't speak through logic. It speaks through energy, and energy moves through feeling. When you finally allow yourself to feel everything, the loss, the rage, the tenderness, you become human again. Not the programmed human, but the divine human, the bridge between heaven and earth. That's why your pain is sacred. It's proof that your heart is awakening after lifetimes of numbness. So when you feel like you're falling apart, know that you're actually falling open. Your soul is expanding to fit the magnitude of love it's destined to hold. The irony is that awakening doesn't make you stronger in the way the world defines strength. It makes you softer, more vulnerable, more transparent, more real. You no longer hide behind perfection. You stop pretending to have it all together. You allow yourself to be raw, because truth no longer scares you. You begin to see beauty even in the breaking. The way light filters through a cracked window. The way grief makes the simplest moment, a sunrise, a smile, a song, feel holy. That's the alchemy of awakening, turning sorrow into gold. And somewhere along the journey, you begin to sense something miraculous. The same energy that once broke you is now guiding you. You start receiving signs, repeating numbers, synchronicities, songs that play at the perfect moment. You realize that your connection with your twin flame never actually ended. It just moved to a higher frequency. They visit you in dreams. You feel their energy in meditation. You communicate. Without words. What was once physical becomes spiritual. What was once longing becomes peace. And that's when you begin to understand, the separation was never punishment. It was protection. A divine orchestration ensuring that both of you could awaken individually before merging as one. Because two unhealed souls together create karma. But two awakened souls together create light. So if you are in the midst of that sacred ache, missing them, questioning everything, doubting the process, take a deep breath. You are not losing love. You are being trained to become love. The fire you feel inside is not destruction. It's purification. It's the universe sculpting you into a vessel that can carry divine love without distortion. And when you reach that state, you will look back and realize, the pain was never the obstacle. It was the path. Pain is the bridge between who you were and who you're becoming. And once you cross it, you no longer see life as something that happens to you, but as something that happens for you. Every heartbreak, every goodbye, every dark night becomes a sacred appointment with awakening. Because the soul doesn't grow in comfort. It grows in surrender. And surrender is the purest form of love. So if your heart is burning tonight, don't run from it. Sit with it. Listen. Because beneath that fire something ancient is awakening. Your soul is whispering. Remember, you are not the one who suffers. You are the one who is awakening. And in that remembrance, pain loses its meaning. Because what remains is love. Only love. Chapter 4. Love beyond duality, the 5D union of two souls as one frequency. At some point on the twin flame journey, the longing quiets. The storm that once raged in your heart begins to soften into stillness. You stop chasing, stop searching, stop asking when, and begin to simply be. That's when you notice something extraordinary. Love is still there. Alive. Radiant. But it's different now. It's no longer a fire that consumes you. It's a flame that illuminates everything. It no longer burns from desire. It glows from truth. This is the threshold between 3D and 5D love. It's the moment you step out of duality, out of the illusion of me and you, and into the field of unity consciousness, where there is only one. In 3D, love was linear. Two separate beings met, fell in love, struggled to maintain it, feared losing it. It was a game of polarity, attraction and resistance, closeness and distance, giving and taking. But in 5D, fifth-dimensional love, the geometry changes. Love becomes spherical, a continuous field of energy that exists beyond time, space, and form. You no longer see your twin flame as someone outside of you. You see them as an extension of the same consciousness wearing a different face. There is no you and me. There is only us. Vibrating through two bodies, two lives, two timelines, yet pulsing with the same divine rhythm. In this state, the heart finally understands what the mind never could. Union is not an event. It's a frequency. And that frequency begins within you. It begins the moment your inner masculine, the energy of action, focus, and presence, meets your inner feminine, the energy of intuition, surrender, and flow. When these two harmonize, inside your being, you stop looking for completion in another person. You become the union you once sought. That's the secret of 5D love. It's not about finding your counterpart, it's about embodying both polarities so fully that you mirror the divine within yourself. Only then can you truly experience oneness with another. Let's imagine this through energy. The divine masculine within you is the river, steady, directional, purposeful. The divine feminine is the ocean, vast, fluid, receptive. In 3D, the river fears losing itself in the ocean. In 5D, it realizes it was water all along. The two merge, not to lose individuality, but to dissolve the illusion of separation. They become one current of love, flowing effortlessly through life. That's what twin flame union feels like. Not a merger of bodies, but a remembrance of essence. When you reach this awareness, the dynamic between you and your twin transforms. The push-pull, the running and chasing, the triggers, they begin to fade. Because now, you no longer meet them from your wounds. You meet them from your wholeness. And from wholeness, love is effortless. You no longer need constant reassurance because your connection is not dependent on presence or proximity. You can feel them across dimensions through dreams, signs, energy. You can sense their emotions, their thoughts, their healing. Not because you're obsessed, but because you're attuned. The separation that once felt like death now becomes a form of sacred communication. Their silence no longer wounds you, it teaches you patience. Their distance no longer triggers you. It deepens your faith. Because you've learned to trust that what is meant for you cannot be lost. And in that trust, the heart expands. Beyond all conditions. This is the hallmark of 5D love. Freedom. You love without needing to own. You give without expecting to receive. You stay because you want to, not because you fear being alone. You realize that true union doesn't mean two people trapped in permanence. It means two souls moving in harmony, even as they grow, evolve, and change. There is no control here. Only co-creation. It's like a dance, each step guided not by choreography, but by intuition. When one moves forward, the other follows naturally, not from obligation but resonance. That's how love becomes a meditation, a continuous exchange of energy that transcends words. But let's be clear. 5D love doesn't mean it's always easy or perfect. It means you see every challenge as a mirror for expansion. When conflict arises, you no longer ask, who's right? You ask, what is love trying to show me here? You don't argue to win. You communicate to understand. You don't withdraw in fear. You pause in awareness. Every emotion becomes sacred data. Every moment, even the painful ones, becomes an opportunity to anchor more compassion. This is emotional mastery, not repression. This is divine intimacy, the kind that exists not in touch but in transparency. At this stage, the connection feels multidimensional. You might wake up at 3 a.m. with your heart racing, feeling their energy merging with yours. You might sense their joy or sorrow before they even speak. You might dream of them in realms that feel more real than waking life. And yet, instead of clinging to these experiences, you simply honor them as reminders. You are never truly separate. Your souls are part of a single energetic architecture, two notes of the same cosmic song. And as one heals, the melody of the other shifts automatically. That's why the twin flame journey is so sacred. Because it's not just about love between two people. It's about reprogramming the entire collective grid of love on Earth. Each time one pair of twins reaches 5D consciousness, they help raise the vibration for millions of others. Their love becomes a tuning fork for humanity, a living demonstration of what love looks like when it is free, conscious, and whole. In this space, love stops being a destination and becomes a way of being. You begin to see love everywhere. In the eyes of a stranger, in the wind that carries your prayers, in the silence between heartbeats. You realize that your twin flame was never the source of love. They were the mirror that reminded you of the source already inside you. And once that realization fully lands, you no longer chase love, you radiate it. You become the new earth template of divine partnership. Not by preaching but by embodying. Not by forcing but by glowing. People will feel it when you walk into a room. The calm, the coherence, the magnetic piece of a heart that has merged with itself. You become what some call a lighthouse soul, guiding others back to the shore of remembrance simply by being. This is why the universe delays many twin flame reunions in the physical. Because if you were to unite before embodying this level of wholeness, the old patterns would only repeat. The ego would take over again, seeking control, validation, or possession. But when both counterparts awaken to their divinity, reunion becomes not just a personal event, but a cosmic one. The merging of two conscious beings releases light codes into the collective field, activating higher templates of love, family, and creation. This is what 5D union truly means. A partnership that exists not for comfort, but for contribution. Not for need but for service. Love becomes the vehicle through which Source expresses itself on Earth. Think of it this way. In 3D you love to get. In 5D you love to give. In 3D you seek love. In 5D you become love. And once you've become it, no one can take it away. Because you carry it in your frequency, not your circumstances. That's why even if your twin flame isn't physically beside you, you still feel complete. Because union is no longer something you wait for. It's something you are. You live in alignment with your soul. You create from joy, not from lack. You move through life as a co-creator, not a victim. You've transcended the illusion of duality, and with it the illusion of separation. This is the love of the new earth. A love so pure, so liberated that it dissolves all boundaries. Between heaven and humanity. It doesn't shout, it whispers. It doesn't demand, it invites. It doesn't seek to be understood. It simply vibrates truth. And through that vibration it changes everything. Because when one person loves this way, they alter the energetic fabric of reality itself. When a pair of twin flames embody it, they shift timelines. They create portals of healing just by existing. That's the power of 5D union. It's not romance, it's remembrance. Not possession but presence. Not two halves becoming whole, but two wholes recognizing their oneness. So, if you're standing on that threshold, if you can feel that deep quiet peace beginning to rise beneath your longing, know that you're entering the next stage of love. The stage where you no longer need to have them to feel love, because you are the field where love lives. You've crossed the bridge. You've returned home to yourself. And from that home everything flows effortlessly, beautifully, divinely. Chapter 5. Twin Flames as Prototypes. How their union activates the collective frequency of love. Imagine this. Every great shift in human history began not with nations, but with hearts. Not with revolutions of politics, but with revolutions of consciousness. And right now, at this turning point in Earth's evolution, a new kind of relationship is emerging, not as coincidence, but as cosmic architecture. Twin flames are not ordinary lovers. They are templates. They are the prototypes of new Earth love, designed to anchor the vibration of unconditional unity into human experience. They come together not merely to experience passion, but to transmit frequency. Their love is not personal. It's planetary. It's the bridge between heaven and earth, between soul and form. When two twin flames meet, the energy field around them shifts dramatically. Even before a single word is spoken, their souls recognize each other. It's like a match being struck in the dark, a sudden ignition that lights up every shadow, every hidden pattern, every wound that still separates love from fear. From the outside it might look like chaos, intensity, triggering, separation. But on a higher level, something much greater is happening. Their reunion begins to recalibrate the frequency of both their souls, and through them the collective grid of humanity. This is why the twin flame journey is never just about romance. It's about evolution. To understand this, think of Earth as an enormous energetic network, a living matrix of consciousness. Every human heart is a node in that network, pulsing with its own frequency. When fear dominates the planet, the collective grid vibrates in lower frequencies: survival, control, shame, guilt. But when one heart opens to unconditional love, its vibration radiates outward like ripples in water, lifting the resonance of every heart it touches. Now imagine two awakened hearts, vibrating in perfect coherence. Two souls who have burned through karma, transcended ego, and remembered their divine nature. When they unite, not from need but from wholeness, their combined frequency becomes exponentially more powerful, like a tuning fork resetting the resonance of the entire field. That is what a twin flame union does. It becomes a quantum catalyst for humanity's ascension. The ancient mystics understood this truth. They spoke of hieros gamos, the sacred marriage between the divine masculine and feminine, heaven and earth, spirit and matter. They knew that when two beings come together in pure divine love, they don't just experience union. They create portals of light. These portals are not metaphorical. They are energetic openings, through which higher consciousness enters the material world. And this is the essence of why so many twin flames are awakening now. They are here as living conduits, instruments through which love, light, and divine intelligence can anchor into the physical dimension. But before they can hold that light, they must first endure purification. That's why the twin flame path begins with chaos, the dark night of the soul. Every fear, every insecurity, every distortion within the human love template must surface and dissolve. They must shed layers of control, attachment, pride, and victimhood. They must learn to love not through possession, but through presence. Only then can their love vibrate purely enough to serve as a transmitter for the new earth frequency. This process might seem deeply personal, but its impact is cosmic. When one twin flame surrenders ego for love, that vibration enters the collective grid. When one chooses forgiveness over resentment, that energy ripples into the global field. When one heart remembers unity, it activates remembrance in countless others, sometimes unconsciously, through resonance. The planet evolves, one heart at a time, and the twin flame journey accelerates that evolution. It's no coincidence that twin flames often feel called to higher forms of service, teaching, healing, art, communication, or energy work. Their love cannot stay contained within the boundaries of two bodies. It expands until it overflows into collective creation. They become what some call light anchors, holding steady the vibration of divine love so that others can feel it and remember it within themselves. Let's look at it through the lens of energy physics. Every emotion emits a measurable frequency. Fear vibrates low and heavy. Joy and gratitude vibrate high and expansive. But unconditional love, the vibration that twin flames are designed to embody, is the highest frequency in the human spectrum. When a pair of twin flames reach inner union, their coherent energy field can influence thousands, even millions, of others through what's known as entrainment. This is the phenomenon where a higher, more stable vibration naturally harmonizes the lower vibrations around it. You've felt this before. When you're near someone peaceful and suddenly your anxiety lessens. That's entrainment. Now imagine that happening on a global scale. Twin flame unions are the universe's way of installing new energetic software into the human collective. Their love rewrites the code of separation. But here's the paradox. Most of their mission happens long before they physically unite. The healing, the separation, the inner alchemy, all of that work transmits energy into the grid. Even when they're apart. Each time one twin flame chooses consciousness over reaction, the field stabilizes. Each time one releases karmic pain, another part of humanity becomes lighter. That's why, even in distance, twin flames are working together, silently, energetically across dimensions. Their connection forms a continuous current of light that moves through space and time, synchronizing the frequencies of awakening hearts everywhere. You may not see it, but the energy is palpable. It's why you feel their presence in meditation, why you receive the same downloads, why you both sense the same collective shifts. Because you are co-architects in a much larger mission, the remembrance of love on earth. Think about how love has been portrayed in the old world. Transactional, possessive, conditional. Every movie, every fairy tale, told us that love ends when pain begins. But twin flames are here to rewrite that narrative, to prove that love doesn't end in pain but awakens through it. That love doesn't shrink under distance, but expands beyond it. That love doesn't divide, it unifies. They are living demonstrations that love is not an emotion, but a state of consciousness. Their story is the story of humanity itself, the descent into separation and the return to unity. When they heal, the collective heals. When they unite, the collective ascends. Sometimes this awakening is subtle. A stranger sees them together and feels inexplicably hopeful. Sometimes it's energetic. A community feels lighter, more open, more connected. Sometimes it's revolutionary. A ripple of love changes an entire movement, a generation, a paradigm. Because love, once embodied at this level, cannot be contained. It spreads through resonance, through vibration, through example. That's why many twin flames are natural mirrors for others. They awaken sleeping hearts simply by existing. They remind people what real love feels like: safe, vast, liberating. And even if they never speak a word, their frequency speaks volumes. In the new earth, this will become the norm. Relationships will no longer be about survival or validation, but about co-creation. Partners will come together not to fill voids, but to amplify purpose. Each connection will serve the whole, not just the self. Twin flames are simply the first wave, the pioneers of this template. They are living examples of what love looks like when consciousness leads instead of ego. They are the blueprint holders of divine partnership. Those who go first, endure the fire, and then shine the way for others to follow. But make no mistake, their mission is not glamorous. It's raw. It's humbling. It demands total surrender to the will of the divine. They are asked to walk through the fire of separation, to love without attachment, to trust without evidence. They must embody patience, forgiveness, and faith in ways that defy human logic. And yet, through that process, they become living embodiments of grace. They prove that love is stronger than fear, that unity is inevitable, and that humanity's evolution is unstoppable. So if you are on this path, if you've met your twin and felt the fire, the ache, the unexplainable knowing, understand this. You are not here for an ordinary love story. You are here to assist in the awakening of a planet. Your connection is sacred technology, a divine experiment in consciousness designed to teach humanity how to love without limits. Every tear you shed, every fear you face, every act of forgiveness you embody, it all matters. You are anchoring light. You are recalibrating the human heart. You are part of a cosmic orchestra, playing the song of remembrance for Earth. So when you think your journey has stalled, remember, even in silence you are transmitting. Even in separation you are serving. Even in pain, you are birthing the new paradigm. Because your love was never meant to be small. It was meant to be symbolic. A mirror of what's possible when two souls remember they were never two at all. And one day, when enough hearts awaken, when enough frequencies rise to match the vibration of unity, the collective consciousness of Earth will shift completely. Fear will dissolve. Love will lead. And humanity will step fully into the frequency of the new Earth. When that day comes, the pioneers, the twin flames, will smile quietly. Because deep down they'll know. Their love was the spark that started it all. Chapter 6. Love as Light. When relationship becomes a tool of planetary healing. There comes a moment on the twin flame path when you realize something extraordinary. Your love is no longer just yours. It breathes with the rhythm of something much larger. The heartbeat of the Earth itself. Every emotion you heal, every forgiveness you offer, every moment you choose compassion over fear, it doesn't just change your life. It changes the frequency of the planet. Because love in its purest form is light. And when two awakened souls embody that light together, their relationship becomes a channel, a sacred technology through which divine energy flows into the collective field. Love was never meant to be just an emotion between two people. It was meant to be a bridge between worlds, the human and the divine, the visible and the invisible. When love rises beyond attachment, it becomes an instrument of alchemy. Think about it. When someone truly loves you, not because of what you give them, but because of who you are, what happens inside you? Your nervous system relaxes. Your defenses soften. Your energy field opens. In that moment, you return to coherence. That's what divine love does. It restores alignment. Now imagine that multiplied through millions of open hearts. That's planetary healing. The new Earth is not being built with concrete and steel. It's being built with frequency. Every act of compassion, every moment of presence, every conscious relationship becomes another beam of light in the new grid. That's why awakened love is so powerful. It doesn't just change your story. It rewires the very architecture of human energy. You see, pain, trauma, and fear are not just emotions. They're densities of energy that have accumulated over generations. They live in our collective field as shadows, unprocessed grief, guilt, shame, resentment. But love is a natural transmuter. When unconditional love is embodied, it doesn't fight darkness. It absorbs it, transforms it, and releases it back as light. So when two twin flames come together in that vibration, they become living portals of transformation. Let's imagine how this works on an energetic level. When two souls merge in divine union, not physical first but energetic, their light bodies intertwine. This creates what mystics call a Merkabic field. Two interlocking tetrahedrons spinning in harmony, generating a powerful electromagnetic vortex. Through this vortex, energy from higher dimensions can flow down into the human grid, where it anchors as healing light. This isn't fantasy, it's metaphysical physics. Energy follows consciousness and consciousness follows love. So as they love purely without demand or fear, that field stabilizes and expands. Every time they choose forgiveness instead of judgment, the field brightens. Every time they surrender control and trust divine timing, the field radiates peace. And this field doesn't stay limited to them. It ripples outward through the collective, harmonizing everything it touches. That's how love heals the world. Not through grand gestures but through vibration. It's easy to underestimate the power of your heart, because we've been trained to believe that change requires force. But energy doesn't obey force, it responds to resonance. When your heart vibrates at the frequency of unconditional love, it becomes like a tuning fork, reprogramming reality around you. That's why miracles happen when people love from purity. A child's laughter, a stranger's kindness, a tear of genuine forgiveness. All of these are microportals of light. And when multiplied by billions, they shift the entire consciousness of the planet. This is the secret mission of love in the new earth. It's not about possession or permanence. It's about transmission. Each person who awakens to divine love becomes a transmitter of healing energy. Twin flames simply operate as amplifiers. They are like sacred mirrors facing each other, reflecting infinite light back and forth until it radiates outward into the world. Through their journey, they anchor the higher blueprint of what love was always meant to be. Free, compassionate, powerful, and creative. Their connection teaches humanity that love can exist without suffering, that union can flourish without control, that intimacy can coexist with freedom. And the more they embody that truth, the more the collective learns through resonance. That's why so many twin flames find themselves drawn to service, teaching, art, writing, energy work, environmental healing, or quiet acts of kindness. Their love cannot stay small because it was never personal, it was designed to be planetary. But let's be honest, being a vessel of light isn't always easy. When you agree on a soul level to hold this vibration, life begins to rearrange itself around that purpose. Old relationships fall away. Old identities dissolve. Everything not aligned with love begins to burn in the fire of transformation. You might lose people, jobs, even places that once felt like home. But that's not punishment. It's purification. The universe is clearing your field so that the light can move through you unobstructed. The same happens in twin flame dynamics. You are each other's catalysts, constantly refining one another, exposing shadows, expanding capacity for love. It's not chaos, it's calibration. Because when you carry the frequency of divine union, you must be able to hold immense energy, not just for yourselves but for the collective. This is why so many awakened souls experience emotional intensity. They're not just processing their own emotions, they're transmuting collective energy. They feel waves of grief, anger, and anxiety that seem to come from nowhere, because they're literally feeling the planet's heartbeat. It's part of the service. When you understand this, pain stops feeling personal. You begin to move through emotions as an alchemist rather than a victim. You learn to breathe through energy, to allow it to rise and dissolve in light. Each release becomes an offering, another layer of density lifted from the earth. This is love as light, not sentimental but sacred, not romantic but revolutionary. There's a reason the greatest mystics, from Rumi to Yeshua to Mirabai, spoke of love as fire. Because once it's awakened, it consumes everything that isn't truth. It burns through fear until only light remains. This fire is not meant to destroy. It's meant to illuminate. It's the fire of remembrance, the flame that reveals you were always divine. And once you embody that truth, you start to see the world differently. Every person becomes a fragment of the one light. Every conflict becomes a mirror for deeper compassion. Every day becomes an opportunity to be a vessel of grace. You begin to live not as someone in the world, but as someone of the light, walking through the world. At this stage, love becomes effortless. You no longer have to try to send healing. Your very presence does it. You no longer force change. Your vibration inspires it. You no longer protect your heart, because you know the heart's true nature is infinite. You realize that your life itself is the offering. Your love, whether expressed in silence or in word, in a smile or in a cosmic embrace, is medicine. Every twin flame who reaches this level of embodiment becomes a healer, whether they intend to or not. They hold a frequency so coherent that others simply remember who they are in their presence. That's why some people feel emotional around you, or inspired or peaceful. Not because you said anything, but because your energy reminds them of home. You've become a conduit of remembrance. This is the highest purpose of twin flame love, to turn relationship into a tool of planetary awakening. It's the divine experiment of humanity's next evolution. Can we love as God loves, without condition, without fear, without end? And the answer is yes, because it's already happening. Every day more hearts are awakening. More couples are embodying unity. More souls are remembering that love is not something you do, it's what you are. The more this truth spreads, the more the collective vibration rises. And one day, when the frequency of love outweighs the frequency of fear, Earth will tip, not in destruction but in illumination. A new Earth will dawn, not because we built it but because we became it. So if you're on this path, if your love feels too vast to be contained, too luminous to explain, know that it's meant to be that way. Your love is light disguised as emotion. Your relationship is a temple disguised as two bodies. Your connection is a cosmic mission, disguised as a love story. And every breath you take in love sends light into the web of creation. The world doesn't need more perfect lovers. It needs more lighthouses, souls who love so purely that others remember their own divinity through them. So stand tall even in uncertainty. Shine even when unseen. And keep loving, even when it hurts. Because every act of love is a spark of light, restoring balance to the world. One day, when humanity finally vibrates in unity, it will be because countless souls like you chose to love. Even when it was hard, even when it was misunderstood, even when it meant standing alone. And in that moment, the earth will whisper back to you, thank you for remembering. Thank you for being the light. Chapter 7. The Trials of Light. Every obstacle is a gateway to expansion. If love is light, then the journey toward embodying it is the art of walking through shadows. No soul incarnates on earth to escape contrast. We come here to master it, to remember our divinity through the friction of forgetting. And so every twin flame path, no matter how luminous its destiny, must first pass through fire. Because light cannot expand without the pressure of darkness. Every obstacle you face is not a punishment, it's an initiation. At first, this truth feels impossible to accept. You think, if this connection is divine, why does it hurt so much? Why are we being torn apart? You question the timing, the silence, the distance. You wonder if you imagined it all. But what you are really encountering is the divine paradox of ascension. Before you can embody higher love, every lower vibration of fear must be brought to the surface to be seen. Light demands exposure, and exposure feels like chaos until you realize its liberation. Every challenge on the twin flame path is designed to refine you. It's not there to break your spirit, but to break your illusions. When the connection feels one-sided, it's teaching you detachment. When communication stops, it's training your intuition. When you're forced apart, it's cultivating your inner union. Each trial is a sacred mirror asking, can you still choose love when nothing makes sense? Because love in the new earth frequency is not a feeling, it's a state of being. It exists even when circumstances fall apart. It endures even when validation disappears. The trials are there to test the strength of that vibration within you. Think of light as fire. Before it can illuminate, it must first burn. The fire purifies. It removes the old stories, the victimhood, the control, the self-doubt, all the residue of conditional love. That's why the twin flame journey is so intense. It's not just emotional, it's energetic surgery. Everything that doesn't align with love is forced to rise for clearing. You can't bypass it. You can only surrender to it. And in that surrender you begin to realize that pain is not a step backward. It's the evidence of expansion. Let's imagine a seed planted deep underground. Before it reaches the sunlight, it must push through layers of soil, rocks, and darkness. If it could think, it might believe it's being buried alive, but in truth it's being reborn. That's exactly what your soul is doing through these trials. You are breaking through the soil of fear to reach the light of love. So when challenges arise, don't ask, why is this happening to me? Ask, what part of me is being invited to grow? Because every obstacle is a teacher, wearing a disguise. One of the greatest illusions on this path is that divine love should be smooth, that if it's meant to be, it should feel easy. But ease is not the measure of destiny. Depth is a soul contract designed to awaken you, will stretch you in ways you never thought possible. It will test your patience, your surrender, your capacity to love without control. It will bring out your shadows so that you can finally integrate them. This is what mystics call the sacred trials of light. They are the tests that ensure your heart can carry divine energy without distortion. Because unconditional love isn't fragile. It's forged in fire. Each obstacle is an alchemical process. When you meet betrayal, you learn forgiveness. When you meet silence, you learn faith. When you meet loss, you learn detachment. When you meet uncertainty, you learn trust. Every lesson is an upgrade of consciousness. Your soul is expanding its capacity to hold light, to remain open, even when the world closes in. And each time you pass through one of these initiations, your vibration rises. You become calmer, softer, yet infinitely stronger. You begin to love not from emotion, but from essence. Consider this. Even stars are born from collapse. Before they shine, they implode. Their gravity folds inward, crushing the core until boom, fusion ignites and a new sun is born. Your trials are the same. When your old self collapses, when everything familiar disintegrates, that's the prelude to ignition. The universe isn't destroying you. It's compressing you into brilliance. You are becoming a star. A radiant being who can emit light without burning out. The mind resists this process because it wants certainty. It wants comfort. But the soul thrives in the unknown. That's why every twin flame journey includes the void, the in-between space where everything you knew dissolves, and nothing new has yet arrived. It's the silence after the storm, the pause between breaths, the emptiness that feels unbearable. Yet this void is not absence, it's gestation. It's where your higher self rearranges your energy, aligning you with new timelines. It's where the magic happens. If you can stay present in the void, without running, without grasping, you'll discover it's not dark at all. It's full of potential. It's where light is reborn. Every challenge you face, every breakdown you endure, is preparing you for embodiment. Because divine love cannot live in theory. It must be lived through the body, through the heart, through the human experience. You're not just learning spiritual concepts, you're integrating them into your cells. That's why it hurts, because you're changing at the level of vibration, not intellect. When the universe stretches you, it's not to test your limits. It's to show you that you have none. And yes, sometimes you'll fall. You'll doubt, cry, rage, question everything. That's part of the process too. Even the most luminous beings stumble in the dark before finding their balance. The point is not to be perfect, it's to be present. To keep choosing love even when it's inconvenient. To keep trusting even when logic screams otherwise. To keep forgiving even when pain begs for revenge. These are not small victories. They are revolutions of consciousness. Every time you choose love in the face of fear, you're changing the collective frequency of humanity. That's how the world heals, one awakened heart at a time. So when the next trial comes, and it will, remember this truth. You are not being punished. You are being polished. The pressure you feel is shaping you into a diamond, unbreakable, radiant and pure. The separation, the uncertainty, the surrender. These are the sacred fires that refine your light. And someday you'll look back and realize that what you thought was chaos was actually choreography, divine precision moving you toward your highest timeline. The trials of light are not meant to defeat you. They are meant to define you. They carve you into the embodiment of grace. A being who loves not because it's easy, but because it's truth. A being who trusts not because they understand, but because they remember. Because deep within every soul that walks this path is an ancient knowing. I came here to learn how to love through all conditions, until no condition remains. That is the final mastery. When you can stand in the storm and still radiate peace, when you can hold the mirror of your twin flame without judgment, when you can bless the separation as fiercely as the reunion, you have transcended duality. You've become the light you were seeking. So, let the trials come. Let them teach you. Let them transform you. Because every obstacle is secretly an angel in disguise. Every delay a divine setup. Every heartbreak, a doorway to expansion. The universe never tests you to see if you're worthy of love. It tests you until you remember that you already are love. And when you finally understand that, you stop fearing the darkness altogether. Because you realize the truth that changes everything. The light was never outside of you. It was always what you are. Chapter 8. Inner Union, becoming the living template of harmony between divine masculine and feminine. 250 words, mystical, poetic, cinematic tone. There comes a sacred turning point on the twin flame path when the longing for reunion shifts inward. The external chase begins to dissolve, and something far more profound begins to awaken within you. The realization that the true union was never outside of you. Because long before your soul recognized its reflection in another, the two forces of creation, divine masculine and divine feminine, were already dancing inside your being. They are not opposites. They are complements, the two wings of the same bird, the two currents of the same river, the inhale and the exhale of love itself. And the moment you bring them into balance, you become the living embodiment of divine harmony, the inner union. To understand this union, we must first understand the ancient language of energy. The divine masculine is the light of consciousness, focused, steady, protective, directional. It is the energy that says, I am. It builds, leads, and manifests. The divine feminine is the breath of creation, intuitive, nurturing, fluid, receptive. It is the energy that says, I feel. It receives, heals, and transforms. For eons, these two forces have been out of balance within humanity. The masculine was exalted, control, logic, structure. The feminine was suppressed, emotion, intuition, flow. The result? A world obsessed with doing yet starved of being. Societies built on control rather than creation. Relationships rooted in dominance instead of partnership. But the new earth is calling for restoration. And the first place that restoration begins is inside you. When you meet your twin flame, their energy activates both polarities within you. If you carry more feminine energy, they awaken your inner masculine, your boundaries, your purpose, your power. If you carry more masculine energy, they ignite your inner feminine, your softness, your empathy, your capacity to feel. This is why the connection feels so intense. It's not just emotional, it's energetic resurrection. Your twin doesn't come to complete you. They come to mirror what was asleep within you. That's why the journey of twin flames is less about falling in love and more about rising in consciousness. First, this process can feel chaotic. Your inner world becomes a battleground. The masculine within you wants to control, to fix, to act. The feminine within you wants to surrender, to feel, to trust. They seem to pull in opposite directions. But that tension is sacred. It's the friction through which balance is born. Because true union doesn't mean one dominates the other. It means they learn to dance. When the masculine learns to listen instead of command, and the feminine learns to express instead of suppress, something miraculous happens. They begin to harmonize. And in that harmony, you begin to remember who you really are. Not one half looking for another, but the wholeness that was split only for the joy of rediscovery. Let's explore what this looks like in everyday life. When your inner masculine is wounded, you may overgive, over-control, or close your heart to vulnerability. You measure your worth by how much you do or achieve. When your inner feminine is wounded, you may lose boundaries, absorb others' emotions, or struggle with self-worth. You confuse love with self-sacrifice. But when they heal, when the masculine learns to protect the feminine without dominating her, and the feminine learns to trust the masculine without fearing him, you begin to embody divine equilibrium. You make decisions with both logic and intuition. You act with clarity but stay rooted in compassion. You can hold space for your emotions without drowning in them. You can pursue your dreams while flowing with divine timing. This is the essence of inner union, a state of balanced creation where you no longer fight your duality but flow with it. When this balance stabilizes, your energy field changes dramatically. You emit coherence, the same sacred vibration that exists in nature, music, and sacred geometry. You become a living fractal of harmony. Your presence alone begins to heal others, because your energy communicates stability, safety, and wholeness. People feel peaceful around you though they can't explain why. Animals approach you easily. Synchronicities flow effortlessly. Because you are no longer fragmented, you are one. And when you reach that state of internal wholeness, something magical happens. Your external reality begins to reflect it. The universe mirrors your frequency. So when you are divided within, life mirrors division. When you are whole within, life mirrors wholeness. That's why so many twin flame unions in the physical only manifest after inner union has been achieved. because until you hold both energies in balance, the universe cannot magnetize a partner who mirrors that equilibrium. You'll keep attracting lessons instead of partners, mirrors that show you where balance is still missing. But once the inner marriage takes place, everything shifts. The external twin begins to feel it energetically. They start awakening too, even from afar. Because the connection was never just physical, it's quantum. The moment you reach harmony within, the frequency of your bond stabilizes across dimensions. It's not a reunion you chase. It's a resonance you become. The ancient mystics describe this process as the alchemical wedding. In alchemy, the sacred marriage of sulfur, masculine fire, and Mercury, feminine water, gives birth to the philosopher's stone, the eternal gold of enlightenment. Likewise, when your inner masculine and feminine unite, they birth something new, the androgynous soul, the awakened self. You no longer identify with gender, roles, or ego. You move beyond polarity. You exist as pure consciousness, the balance of will and surrender, strength and softness, doing and being. This is what it means to become the living template of new Earth consciousness. You are no longer at war with yourself. And when there is no war within, there can be no war without. The implications of inner union go far beyond your personal journey. When enough individuals reach this balance, the collective energy field of Earth shifts. You begin to see it already: men learning to cry without shame, women learning to lead without apology, humanity learning to blend logic with love. This is not weakness, it's evolution. It's the integration of polarities into a single harmonious expression of Source. And it begins with you. When you balance your inner masculine, you heal the distorted masculine in the world, the aggression, the domination, the need to conquer. When you balance your inner feminine, you heal the collective feminine, the suppression, the silence, the fear of being seen. Your personal healing becomes planetary healing. Your inner harmony becomes humanity's new template. So, how do you cultivate this inner union in daily life? It begins with awareness. When you find yourself overthinking, chasing, or controlling, pause. Invite your feminine to soften you. Ask her, what am I afraid to feel right now? When you find yourself lost in emotion, indecision, or passivity, pause. Invite your masculine to support you. Ask him, what action can bring clarity? Over time, these two energies begin to collaborate. You stop oscillating between extremes and start operating from the sacred middle path. You lead with intuition and execute with wisdom. Meditation helps. Breathwork helps. Journaling helps. But the most powerful tool is presence. Listening deeply to yourself until your inner duality becomes dialogue, and dialogue becomes dance. Once this happens, your relationship with your twin flame transforms. The triggers fade because you no longer need them to activate your wounds. The separation softens because you realize you were never separate in the first place. You stop craving reunion because you are reunion. Every breath a fusion of divine masculine and feminine energy. And from that wholeness, love flows naturally. Not as longing but as light. Not as seeking but as being. You become what you were always meant to be, a living representation of divine balance, a vessel through which the new Earth consciousness can flow effortlessly. When you reach inner union, even the world feels different. Colors seem brighter. Time feels slower. Nature begins to communicate through synchronicities, symbols, whispers of wind. Because now you're not just observing creation, you're co-creating with it. The masculine in you manifests with purpose. The feminine in you receives with grace. Together they dance in eternal harmony, giving birth to miracles. And this is the quiet truth no one tells you about the twin flame journey. It was never about finding the one. It was about becoming the one. So, if you're still in the storm, still chasing, still wondering when union will come, pause. Breathe. Turn inward. The temple you've been seeking has always been inside you. The beloved you've been yearning for has always lived in your heart. When you embrace both your light and shadow, your strength and tenderness, your logic and intuition, you will find them there waiting. And when that meeting happens, when the two energies within you bow to each other in reverence, you will feel it, the stillness, the warmth, the wholeness that no external reunion can replicate. That's when you'll understand the true meaning of union. Not two becoming one, but one remembering it was never two. Chapter 9. Love as the language of New Earth, creating a world built on conscious relationships. When we speak of the new earth, most imagine a distant paradise, a golden age yet to come, where humanity finally awakens and peace covers the planet like sunlight after a long storm. But the truth is subtler, more intimate. The new earth is not arriving to us. It is emerging through us, through every heart that chooses love over fear, awareness over reaction, connection over control. And as this new vibration anchors, one truth becomes luminous. Love is not only the foundation of the new earth, it is its language. Love has always been the most universal force, the pulse that animates creation, the gravity that draws souls together, the invisible current that connects galaxies to atoms. But in the old paradigm, humanity forgot how to speak it fluently. We tried to translate love into the languages of power, desire, or survival. We turned it into transactions. If you love me, I'll love you back. We used it as a shield. If I control you, I won't lose you. We reduced it to symbols, weddings, promises, social status, forgetting that love was never meant to be a cage but a current. And now, as consciousness rises, love is reclaiming its original dialect, energy. In the new earth, love is not a word you say. It's a frequency you embody. It's not a feeling that comes and goes, it's a field you live in. When you love from awareness, your energy becomes coherent, and coherence is contagious. Every thought, every gesture, every silence radiates that vibration. You no longer speak love, you transmit it. So what does this new language look like in human form? It looks like transparency, communication that honors truth instead of manipulation. It looks like presence, listening without waiting to reply. It looks like sovereignty, loving without losing yourself. It looks like compassion, seeing the divine in another, even when their wounds speak louder than their soul. It's the shift from ownership to oneness. Old earth relationships were often built on unconscious contracts. I'll be the giver, you'll be the receiver. I'll fix you and you'll need me. I'll shrink so you can shine. But new earth relationships operate on a different blueprint, energetic equality. Both partners hold their own frequency, yet they dance in harmony rather than dependency. They are not halves seeking completion, they are wholes celebrating union. This is not idealistic, it's evolutionary. As human consciousness ascends, emotional intelligence must evolve. 2. Love becomes a form of mastery, not mere emotion. It's the ability to stay in alignment even when triggered, to choose empathy even when hurt, to remember unity even when the ego screams separation. In the new earth, relationships are no longer about comfort, they're about growth. Every connection becomes a mirror reflecting the next step of your awakening. Every disagreement becomes an opportunity to expand your capacity for understanding. Every goodbye becomes a sacred closure that clears space for new frequencies to enter. Love becomes less about possession and more about permission, the freedom for each soul to grow into its highest expression. To live in this frequency is to unlearn everything society taught you about love. You realize that love doesn't need labels, yet it honors commitment. It doesn't need control, yet it cherishes presence. It doesn't demand perfection, yet it invites growth. Because in the new earth, love isn't about forever. It's about truth in every moment. When two souls come together in truth, their energy field amplifies. Not for comfort, but for creation. They become collaborators with the universe, birthing art, healing, and inspiration into existence. Their love ripples outward, influencing communities, environments, even the quantum field itself. This is the architecture of the new earth, built not by bricks and machines, but by hearts vibrating in coherence. Let's imagine this world for a moment. A world where relationships are conscious, not reactive. Where parents raise children with presence instead of fear. Where communities value cooperation over competition. Where leadership is guided by empathy instead of ego. In this world, every interaction becomes sacred exchange. Business meetings begin with a moment of stillness to align energy. Conflicts are approached not as battles to win, but as lessons to understand. Partnerships, friendships, families, all are rooted in the awareness that every being is a mirror of the one. This isn't utopia. It's evolution. Because the more we anchor in love, the more the fabric of reality itself transforms. From a metaphysical perspective, Love is not sentimental. It's structural. It's the organizing principle of consciousness. When humans vibrate in love, their energy fields synchronize with the Earth's magnetic grid, creating stability, coherence, and regeneration. Science is beginning to confirm what mystics have always known. A single coherent heart can harmonize the energy of an entire room. A group meditating in love can reduce violence in a city. An individual radiating compassion can heal not only relationships, but biological systems within their body. This is not poetry. It's physics. Love is coherence, and coherence is creation. So imagine what happens when millions of hearts synchronize in this frequency. When love becomes humanity's common language once again. Twin flames and awakened souls are the early translators of this new dialect. They are the pioneers, the wayshowers, the linguists of love energy. Through their journeys of awakening, they are teaching the planet how to speak love fluently again. Not through words but through vibration. Every time they forgive, they teach humanity that compassion is possible. Every time they surrender control, they model faith in divine timing. Every time they choose healing over blame, they rewrite the energetic blueprint of relationships for generations to come. They are not here to preach, they are here to embody. Because embodiment is the loudest language of all. As the new earth unfolds, human connection itself will evolve. Romantic relationships will shift from attachment to alignment. Friendships will thrive through authenticity instead of convenience. Families will move from obligation to love-based unity. Even the concept of soul family will expand. You'll begin to attract people by frequency, not by circumstance. Your tribe will find you through resonance, not location. Your collaborations will form through energy, not hierarchy. The world will feel smaller, but the heart will feel infinite. And the foundation of it all will be this truth. Love is not something we do, something we remember. Yet love, as the new language of Earth, will not be abstract or mystical alone. It will become practical. Imagine systems designed with love at their core. Healthcare focused on healing, not profit. Education that nurtures creativity, not conformity. Economies based on generosity, not greed. When humanity speaks love fluently, even technology becomes sacred. Artificial intelligence will evolve into tools of empathy, not control. Science and spirituality will no longer be at odds. They will merge, revealing that love is the ultimate intelligence governing the cosmos. But none of this can exist without the transformation of the individual heart. Because the new earth is not a place you arrive at, it's a frequency you maintain. It begins every time you choose to see love where others see conflict. Every time you pause before reacting. Every time you choose compassion over pride, patience over haste, empathy over judgment. Every small act of love, a word, a smile, a moment of forgiveness is a brushstroke, painting the canvas of the new earth. There's a line from an old mystic text. When the heart remembers its original tone, creation sings again. That is exactly what is happening now. The heart of humanity is remembering its tone, the sound of unity, the vibration of love. And every twin flame, every conscious soul, every awakened relationship adds another note to that symphony. We are composing a new song. A planetary harmony where love is both the music and the language through which life communicates. So if you find yourself wondering how to serve the world, start here. Love more consciously. Speak with awareness. Listen with compassion. Act with integrity. Forgive with softness. And remember that every time you do, the earth becomes a little brighter. Because love is not just the destination. It's the translation of the divine into human form. And as more of us learn to speak it fluently, the new earth won't be a dream. It will be our shared reality. A world built not on fear but on frequency. Not on rules but on resonance. Not on survival but on sacred remembrance. So take a deep breath. Feel your heartbeat, that quiet drum, echoing the rhythm of the universe. That is love speaking through you right now. You are its messenger. And the world is listening. Chapter 10. The Global Awakening of Love, Your Heart as a Catalyst for Collective Ascension. 250 words, cinematic, luminous, and deeply spiritual narration. There is a quiet revolution sweeping across the planet. It doesn't make headlines or demand attention. It moves in silence, through whispers of intuition, through unexpected acts of kindness, through the gentle trembling of hearts remembering what they came here to do. This is the global awakening of love. It's not a religion, a movement, or a philosophy. It's a vibration, a pulse that travels from heart to heart, activating something ancient in every soul. And as it spreads, humanity is beginning to remember the truth that was never lost, only forgotten. Love is the operating system of the universe. For thousands of years we've been running on fear, the illusion of separation. We believed that power came from control, that safety came from walls, that survival required competition. We built nations, systems, and economies on this foundation, and the result was disconnection. But the soul cannot thrive in separation. And so, quietly, the collective heart began to crack open. It happened through personal awakenings, heartbreaks, illnesses, endings that force people inward. It happened through global challenges, pandemics, climate crises, the crumbling of institutions that no longer serve truth. Each event, no matter how painful, has been part of a grand orchestration, an initiation for the species. Because only through contrast can consciousness evolve. Only through darkness can the light become visible. The global awakening of love is not a utopian dream. It's a shift in frequency. And that shift begins in the human heart. Every time one person chooses compassion over judgment, they alter the collective field. Every time one person forgives instead of retaliating, they emit a new tone into the human symphony. Every time one soul decides to love even when it's hard, the frequency of Earth rises. You may think you are small, just one heartbeat among billions. But remember, consciousness is not measured by numbers. It's measured by resonance. A single coherent heart can uplift thousands of incoherent ones. A single light can banish miles of darkness. And your heart, when opened in love, becomes a beacon broadcasting healing waves across the planet. This is not metaphorical, it's energetic. Heart coherence is measurable. The electromagnetic field generated by the human heart extends far beyond the body, interacting with others and even with Earth's magnetic field. When you meditate on love or gratitude, your heart emits a steady rhythmic signal, one that influences the people, animals, and environments around you. Imagine millions of hearts doing this at once. That's the essence of collective ascension, not escape from Earth but elevation of its frequency. Ascension is not about leaving the physical behind. It's about bringing heaven into the physical. It's the process of integrating higher consciousness into everyday life, turning ordinary moments into sacred ones, transforming fear into awareness, and remembering that divinity has always been within reach. But love does not awaken without resistance. As the light rises, so do the shadows. You can see it everywhere: polarization, confusion, systems collapsing under their own weight. It may look like chaos, but it's actually purification. The collective shadow, the fear, greed, shame, and trauma of centuries, is surfacing to be released. It's the same process that happens in individual awakening, only magnified across billions of souls. And just like in your personal journey, the medicine is the same: presence, compassion, love. You cannot fight darkness with darkness. You can only illuminate it with light. And that illumination begins inside you. So what does it mean to be a catalyst for this collective awakening? It doesn't require you to lead masses or change the world overnight. It simply asks you to tend to your own frequency. When you heal for many. When you raise your vibration, you create ripples that uplift the whole. Your joy becomes a form of activism. Your peace becomes an act of rebellion. Your kindness becomes a revolution. Because every time you choose love, you're adding coherence to the planetary field, helping stabilize Earth's frequency as she transitions into higher dimensions. You see, Earth herself is ascending. She's not just a planet. She's a living consciousness, evolving just like you. As she rises in vibration, everything that is not aligned with love begins to fall away. The old systems, the power structures, the illusions of control. And you, as a conscious soul incarnated at this time, are part of this process. You are here to anchor the frequency of love, not as a theory, but as a lived reality. That's why your awakening matters. That's why your healing is not selfish. It's service. Because each healed heart becomes a stable node of light in the global network of consciousness. Together we are building a new energetic infrastructure, a grid of love that will sustain the new earth. Picture this network like an invisible web of golden light, stretching across the planet. Each awakened heart is a node in that web, pulsing with radiance. As more hearts awaken, the web strengthens, forming a coherent matrix that connects everything: people, animals, nature, the elements, even the stars. This web is the nervous system of the new earth. It's through this grid that information, inspiration, and healing energy flow. And this is how collective ascension unfolds, not through one dramatic event but through millions of small, steady awakenings syncing together. Love is the language. The heart is the transmitter. The planet is the receiver. As this awakening spreads, human consciousness begins to operate on a new set of principles. Instead of hierarchy, we move toward harmony. Instead of dominance, cooperation. Instead of scarcity, co-creation. We stop seeing life as a competition and start experiencing it as a collaboration with Source. Art becomes prayer. Work becomes purpose. Community becomes communion. Even technology evolves to serve consciousness, not the other way around. Imagine schools where children are taught not only math and science, but emotional intelligence, mindfulness, and energetic awareness. Imagine economies where success is measured by well-being, not by accumulation. Imagine governments guided not by fear of loss, but by the desire to serve unity. This is not fantasy. This is what happens when love becomes the governing intelligence of the collective. But before such a transformation can occur on a global scale, it must first be embodied individually. The collective is simply the mirror of the personal. That's why your inner work, your healing, forgiveness, surrender, is not a private act. It's planetary service. Every time you clear a wound, you release density from the human field. Every time you forgive your past, you open a door for future generations. Every time you hold compassion for another, you strengthen the grid of love encircling the earth. This is how the global awakening happens, quietly, heart by heart, like dawn breaking across the horizon. And yes, there will be resistance. Some will cling to the old ways. Some will mock, fear, or reject the rising light. But that's okay. Every soul awakens at its own pace. Your task is not to convince the world. It's to embody the frequency that makes awakening inevitable. Light doesn't argue with darkness. It simply shines until shadows have nowhere left to hide. So don't underestimate your presence. Don't diminish your impact because you don't see immediate results. Every vibration of love you emit travels farther than you can imagine, touching hearts you'll never meet, shaping futures you'll never see. When enough hearts awaken, the tipping point will come. The quantum leap humanity has been preparing for. A shift so profound that it will feel like a different planet altogether. Not because Earth has changed location, but because our perception has. When humanity sees through the eyes of love, war becomes impossible. When we act through the heart, systems of exploitation dissolve naturally. When we remember we are one consciousness expressing itself in infinite forms, judgment ceases and unity becomes inevitable. This is the destiny of Earth, not apocalypse but apotheosis. Not destruction but illumination. You are alive in one of the most extraordinary times in the history of this planet. You chose to be here, not as a spectator but as a participant. You came to remember, and through remembering to help others remember too. Your love, your frequency, your embodiment, these are your sacred offerings to the collective awakening. The universe doesn't need you to be perfect. It needs you to be present, to love in your own unique way, through art, words, silence, parenting, friendship, or prayer. Because every authentic expression of love becomes another thread in the golden web, weaving the new earth. So take a deep breath. Place your hand on your heart. Feel its steady rhythm, the ancient drum of creation beating within you. That rhythm is not just yours. It belongs to the cosmos. It's the same pulse that moves through oceans, forests, galaxies. It's the song of love awakening across the universe. And you, right here, right now, are part of the choir. Sing your note boldly. Live your love fully. Let your life become a vibration of remembrance. Because the new earth is not waiting for you to arrive. It is waiting for you to awaken.